Good evening, Doc. How are you today?
I'm doing well, thank you. Glad to be here. And how are you?
I am well. I'm pretty excited, as I have told you throughout the weekend, that I'm looking forward to this session selfishly because I want to learn.
That's good. I was actually quite looking
Yeah,
forward to this session, and it being one of those topics I love to talk about. I am
yeah,
excited about it as well. So the feeling is mutual.
I'm glad. I'm glad. I'm so excited. I'm glad it's a two-part series, so we don't have to really try to get to rush through it. That way we can
Yeah,
just take our time and just break the topic down.
explain what needs to be explained. Yeah. So
Exactly, exactly.
let me just get on Facebook as well and share on my page so that
Lovely.
we yes. Okay, there we are.
Lovely. Yeah. So, welcome to the broadcast. Do share it, do join, invite people to come. Imposter syndrome is a very real topic, and we have Dr. Kadochi on the live today to help us walk through it. And I promise you will not regret this session. And yeah, you're welcome to post your comments, and we will interrupt the live a few times to ensure
Yeah.
that your questions get answered and that you are not left behind.
True, true, true.
True. Okay, that's good. So it's 19 hours now, but I think we should just give it a minute just in case people are trying to settle in.
Okay,
So the
not a
question I
problem.
like to ask, yes, the question I like to ask is on the scale of 1 to 10, what is your energy
Yeah.
level for tonight, especially being a Monday?
1 to 10. Well, I think I'm at 8.5, somewhere there. I'm at
Eight is
8.5.
good. That's excellent for a Monday. That's excellent. That's excellent. I am very glad that we are that high. I always try to stay humble and stay
Yeah.
at a 7, but usually I'm at like a
Oh,
12.
really? Oh,
I'm at like a 12. I'm always
I
excited to
get
do
you.
this and just learn. Yeah, I'm
I
just
get
always
you. Yeah.
excited to do this and learn. So it's always
No,
good.
that's good. A 12
Yeah.
is acceptable. A 7, I think that's the imposter syndrome speaking.
That's the important speaking. I like that. I like that. But we're curing it tonight. I'll keep coming at a 15 in
We're
the next
definitely
lives.
trying it tonight.
We're curing it tonight. Or at least we'll start
Definitely
to
curing it
cure it
tonight.
tonight. Yeah,
Exactly,
no,
exactly.
yeah. As I have been saying, Doc, I'm very grateful that you made time to do this. And
Yeah.
like I have said, honestly, it's just because I really wanted to know as well. You know, you hear imposter syndrome in the movies, you hear imposter syndrome on social media, and you have these questions. Is it like a real medical condition? Have I actually struggled with it? Is it,
Yeah.
a lack of self-confidence? It's self-esteem. So you always have these questions, and I'm so glad that you came and made time to do this
Yeah.
with us. I know you are very, very busy. So I completely appreciate you making time to do this. So, like with
No.
every interview, before we get into it, it's always just good to have a working definition so that even as we get into the conversation, people already know what it is we're talking about, or at least have an idea. And especially
Yeah.
that, it's not a very commonly spoken about conversation in our
Mm-hmm.
culture. So I think it would be important to just give it a working definition. So, in the simplest terms, how does someone understand what imposter syndrome is?
All right. I think that is an interesting question to begin with, especially that you've
Mhm.
added the simplest term. I love to
Yes.
work with simple definitions
Yeah.
because I love simple stuff. I think
Yeah.
it's good to break down a number of things so that a lot of people would appreciate some things that we fail
Absolutely.
to actually name
Mm.
or
Mm.
identify or label in the actual sense that makes sense. And
Yeah.
speaking of imposter syndrome is simply the feeling or the thoughts that make us have self-doubt, that make us question our competence, and the feelings and thoughts that make us disqualify ourselves. And so it is called a syndrome because it is composed of feelings and thoughts. It is not one particular thing. And so most dictionaries would say it is the feeling of self-doubt. But that is that's sort of limiting what imposter syndrome is, because anything that qualifies to be a syndrome is characterized by different things that make it up. And that's what imposter syndrome is. It is characterized by feelings of fraudulence, where you get to feel as though you are fake, you don't deserve something, thoughts of undermining yourself, you feel as though you are not competent enough to take up the task, and also feelings that come of self-sabotaging, where you set a standard for yourself and you fail to achieve that standard. And so because you fail to achieve that standard, you feel or label yourself as a fake, because you are criticizing yourself. And all those things are what imposter syndrome is about. And so that's how I would define it. But then just to give a classical definition that I would want even the people that are hearing this for the first time to have in mind is that imposter syndrome is having a distorted perception about competence and self-worth.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
That's interesting. Sorry, so I just want to take you back. You had talked about it is a syndrome because it's a combination of things. So if I was having just self-doubt, like I had asked you before, and as we had mentioned in our conversation earlier, I had said when I had gone to Ziale, right? And then because I had failed so many times, when I came out of it and it was time to go into the industry, and then I got jobs, I started to question myself. So you're saying a syndrome is a combination of multiple things or one or more things?
Yeah, so it's considered as a syndrome because it is not just one thing. So simply because you have doubt doesn't qualify you to be an imposter. Everybody has self-doubt from time to time, But then it is having self-doubt and also having a distorted view of your competence. And so you have one thing, but you also have other things that qualify for you to be an imposter. Yes. So it is not just one thing, but it is a combination of the feeling and the thoughts.
Feelings and the thoughts. Okay. So who is an imposter?
Okay.
Maybe we could. So why is it called imposter? Yeah. Like again, simple definitions, like not textbooks, just simple definitions. Even for me, I'm just like, no, I'm not like, we can even work with an example, I guess.
All right,
of
no
who
problem.
An imposter is. Yeah.
Okay, so for the benefit of just appreciating the origin of imposter syndrome, let me start with giving an example of how everything came up.
Love that.
It was it was first discovered by two psychologists, two ladies that were studying on some of the effects that high achieving women were having as a challenge. And so if you remember back in the 1960s, 1970s, women were not quite an authority in the corporate world. And so there was that imbalance between men taking up much of the corporate positions and less of women. But then after 1970, in 1980, different women began to take up some of these positions as well in the corporate world. And so we had quite ambitious women, but then no matter how good they were, they felt undeserving. And so they felt as though they were not the right people to take up some of the positions. In as much as they achieved different things, they still felt as though they were a fake, because some of those positions were for men, as the society had idolized things. And so that is where the study came from, actually. It was a study based on women that failed to fit in because they thought that they were not the right people to take up the positions, in as much as they were good for these positions. So the study was first for women, and so it was called the imposter phenomenon. And I think that is what it is still in psychology.
Yeah.
So it was called the imposter phenomenon, but when it was then studied further and introduced into the corporate world, then they now added the syndrome instead of the phenomenon. Okay. So who is an imposter? It is basically people that think that they are not deserving of a particular position. So, for example, if you are a person that would find yourself getting a job that is of high prestige and a lot of people would want to be in that place, but then because you know who you are, some of the things you struggle with, some of the things that you are quite insecure about, you would feel as though you don't deserve that position. And so you would actually secretly feel like a fraud. You secretly feel like an imposter. And one common thing about imposter syndrome is that a lot of people suffer from it, but they don't voice it. And so a study was conducted, I think, in 2010, and they realized that 75% of people in the whole world actually experience imposter syndrome. They don't just say it. It's a secret that we carry. It is when we get that job interview and we feel as though, wow, me, I made it. Maybe they made a mistake. It can't be me.
Yeah.
So it is that feeling where we get to, convince ourselves that we are not the person for the job, or we are not the one that is capable of doing this. And so in as much as we would go for the job, but we still feel it. We still think about it. And there are a number of public figures actually that have been reported to suffer or undergo this very challenge of imposter syndrome. One of them is Michelle Obama. She actually says it in her book. And you would understand why she would have imposter syndrome, because she was the first Black woman to be, the first lady in the United States. So imposter syndrome is known for a lot of people that are the first timers. If you are the breadwinner of your family, and you are the first person in the family to actually become wealthy, you have imposter syndrome. You feel as though you are, you don't deserve these riches. If you are the first person in the family to have a degree, you are likely to feel imposter syndrome. So every first timer of anything usually gets to have imposter syndrome. A number of entrepreneurs also, as they get to do different things with regards to the business that they do. Elon Musk also was reported to have imposter syndrome because of just the fact that he was one of the first people to do something that has never been done before. And so it is usually associated to high achievers, but also associated to people that try but disqualify themselves. I'm going to talk about the types later on so that we get to appreciate why it is a syndrome.
So that's very interesting. Yeah. So that's very interesting. So just to simplify it further, you would say therefore, if, for instance, I came and pretended to do your job, someone would consider me an imposter, right?
Oh, yeah.
But then
Yes.
we suffer from this syndrome and feel that way even when we are deserving. But we judge ourselves the
Exactly.
way the world would judge us, as you're
Exactly.
pretending to be something that you are not, and you're
You're
a
not.
fraud.
Exactly.
Ah, that's interesting. Okay. I like that you said that people like you gave real life examples of high achievers who have suffered imposter syndrome, and when you think about people like Elon Musk and you think about Michelle Obama, you think they have it all together. They were born for these roles, right? But the statistics you have shared are very staggering. 75% of people suffer from this, and that is a lot. So, Doc, before I move on I have two follow-up questions already. Do you think people do not talk about imposter syndrome because they do not know that, now I want to use a scientific term, that they are suffering from the imposter phenomenon? Or is it that they know, but they just won't talk about it? Okay, we just lost Dr. Kadochi, and he should be back soon. His internet is down briefly. So anyway, let me see some of the questions while we wait. Exactly. Yes, Shadrach. Hi, so good to have you on the live today. Yes. Tell me, have you ever suffered, Shadrach, from imposter syndrome? I saw your post, very inspiring today, about how you felt in 2014 on the journey getting to where you are now. Is that something that you have struggled with, or something in relation? I mean, Dr. Kadochi is saying that 75% of people suffer from imposter syndrome. Would you say this is something that you have struggled with? Do tell us in the comment section. Thank you, Miriam, for joining the broadcast. Thank you, Luansa, Lulu Mulenga, for joining. Do leave a question or tell us in the comment section also if you have suffered from imposter syndrome. I definitely have. I have told this story so many times about how after, like I have said this before, and you probably are tired of hearing this, I went to Ziale after being there forever and finally passing, then finally getting my first job. I legit felt like I was an imposter. Am I really deserving of this position? So yeah, am I really deserving of this position? And I did feel it. And when I posted about it, I was so glad that Dr. Kadochi had done some work around it, and especially that he's an expert at this. He's made presentations and done some work with this. He was just the right person to discuss it. Welcome back, Doc.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you very much.
Yeah. So before you disappeared, I was asking the
Mm.
question. You had said 75% of people struggle with imposter syndrome. And I thought that is a very baffling statistic. It's a very high number. And you said also that people don't talk about it. My curiosity around that was, do people not talk about it because they don't know that imposter syndrome, or rather the imposter phenomenon, is a thing? Or is it that they're ashamed? Is do you have an idea, or is there some research around why people are not keen to discuss this subject?
Yeah, so the main reason that I would actually bring out firstly is because we don't know how to label this feeling of inadequacy. We just feel as though we are the only ones that go through this. And so, because it's our own secret, we don't get to know. We all keep it as a secret. For example, if I think I am not capable, or rather, I am not the right person to speak about this topic, I will keep it as a secret because I don't want you to know, because somehow you would think that, well, he is not an expert on this. I think it was Maya Angelou who said that after writing her 11th book, Maya Angelou said, oops, they are going to find out that I am not an author after all. And that is her saying that after releasing her 11th book. And yes,
all the amazing work she had done.
And all the amazing work she had done. And that was her actually saying that because of the attention that she gets to receive, she often feels as though the praise is too much, that it can't be equated to the actual work that she has done. Another person that said the same thing, or rather something similar, in relation to the attention that he was receiving, was Isaac Newton. He was also of the idea that the attention that his work got could not match to the actual work. He said it was just exaggerated and he didn't deserve the recognition. And that is what imposter syndrome does. It makes you feel as though you're not deserving, the attention is just exaggerated. If you get to pass, if it's an exam, you think, well, it's because the lecturer likes me, or they made a mistake, or it was just something that happened by luck.
There was a fluke.
It was a fluke. And you'd be convinced.
True,
and as you are convinced of that, as you are convinced of that, you remain waiting for the time that they will say, oh, we are calling to say we made a mistake and truly you failed.
Funny you should say that. Years after I passed, I even used to dream. Like maybe the director said, no, we made a mistake. And then, like for years, I think it was like up until last year, I used to wake up in a sweat. You didn't pass. And I'm like, what's this? It's interesting that you say that. I was just waiting.
That's what imposter syndrome does. It makes you feel and think you are undeserving, and it gives you reasons to actually validate that. And that is why a number of talented artists, or just any other kind of talent, you realize that right after they have their first debut, they get the attention. When they get to have the second, and it doesn't get the recognition, or it doesn't get the attention that the first one had, they would then think, wow, that's confirmation that the first one wasn't even right. I wasn't deserving. And so I'm done with this. A lot of people have not released a number of albums, more songs, because the first was a hit, the second wasn't. And because the second wasn't a hit, to them it's a confirmation that truly you are an imposter, you are a fake. The first one you are not deserving, so just sit down. And so to answer your question, we don't talk about it quite often, and it's because we don't know that it is something that we all go through. If a lot of people were to open up, especially CEOs, presidents even, we had a president, well, I will not mention names, but we had a president who had imposter syndrome. And you could see by the things that he would say, the things that he would do, it was to sort of make people believe that I am a president when you actually are.
You don't have to
and
prove
so you don't have to prove it. And that's what usually happens for people that are, in this place of imposter phenomenon, if we're to call it.
Yeah, I like the scientific term. That's like my biggest takeaway. It has like this imposter phenomenon. So we have talked a lot about it's common in high achievers. And I like the last point that you made. It leads me to my next question. So bringing it down to the rest of us who are not Elon Musk or Michelle Obama or Maya Angelou, how do I identify that I am struggling with IS?
Okay. So there are some things that we usually get to do. And usually one of them is that we become people that are too sensitive to attention and praise, and we usually water down any praise that people would give us. But then to understand this, I would like to talk about the types, because if we understand the types of imposter syndrome, then we would be able to see where we fall. So
sorry, I'm just taking notes. I'm paying attention, but I'm taking notes.
Okay. All right, no problem.
Yeah.
So the first, remember from the definition, I said that you have a distorted view of competence. Yes. And so how you define competence is not what competence is truly. Yes. And so the first type I want to talk about is the perfectionist. Okay? So the perfectionist is a person who simply has a distorted view of perfection. And that's where I actually get to fall, because I also suffer from imposter syndrome. So I'm quite a perfectionist. And the challenge with perfectionists is that we want things to happen a particular way. And so our definition of competence is if we do things a particular standard, a particular way, it has to be like this, not like this, So we have a particular way of how we want to see the outcome. And that is what defines being competent. So if I'm capable of making it come out my envisioned way, then I'm competent in that area. And so the challenge there is that if you get to do something that is not in line with the outcome you had envisioned or the standard that you had set, you get to feel as though you are an imposter because you are incapable of delivering to that standard. You are incapable of achieving that standard. And so you are feeling that you are an imposter because in as much as you may, attain a particular goal that is close, as long as you have not reached there, to you, you are not the right person. Now, an example that I can give is in class. I remember we used to have this smart girl from Nigeria back in med school. And we would write a very difficult test. And, back then, our passing mark was 60%. And whenever you get at least anything above 60, you become comforted. Clear.
It's a sigh of relief.
Yes, you're not going to get any supplementaries or anything like that. And her target would always be above 80%. And so whenever she would get anything below 80, she would be whining as though she has failed,
Shame.
And that's her in that moment failing to accept results. And so we would say, well, congratulations, you've topped the class. But she feels as though she's an imposter. She does not deserve that congratulatory mark, even if being the highest would get her any honorary or award. She would get it, but she would feel as though, well, she does not deserve it. So that's an example of a perfectionist. Perfectionists set a high standard, high bar, and if they don't get to that standard, even if they would be recognized for the effort that they've made, they will not accept that effort. They would say, well, I'm not deserving. But hey, what do you mean you're not deserving? You got the highest. So the perfectionist's definition of competence is hitting the mark. And so if you don't hit the mark, then you are not competent. Or rather, they feel as though they are not competent. It's the same thing we see with it's the same thing we see with some CEOs or managing directors. They are particular programs that they would plan. And if they don't go in the way that they had envisioned or the way they had planned everything, they would feel as though as a team they have failed, or as a leader, they have not done what they were supposed to do. And as much as, the team would be appreciated and everything, but them being the CEO, the managing director, they would feel as though, well, we don't deserve this because we didn't hit the mark. So that is a type of an imposter, the perfectionist. They want everything to be done right.
Okay. So for the perfectionist, what I would like to know, and thank you for sharing that, this is something you have struggled with yourself. Have you ever set a standard and then you hit the mark, or even did better than the mark? Did you get the feeling, did you hitting the mark satisfy that? So when you do it, you don't feel like an imposter? Or is it that even if you do what you set out to do, you still struggle with it? I'm trying to.
That's a good question. Good question. So I'll give an example. I think it was early this year. It was early this year. Now, the thing about perfectionists is that we are also good evaluators and good. We are good at criticizing things. And so whenever we are evaluating something, instead of giving constructive criticism, we actually kill ourselves. So I was in a public speaking contest, under Toastmasters, and I got first place twice as we were getting started. So at club level, I got first place. Area level, I got first place. And when I got first place at area level, I still had areas that I felt, well, it's just because, I didn't do it this way. But if I did it this way, perhaps it would have been better. But then you would ask, what do you mean it would have been better? You are the winner. So there are still those areas where we still remain giving ourselves some criticism. And so that's all in the effort of trying to be better and perfect. And so, yes, you would achieve your goal, but you would still feel as though I still had room to do better, but I didn't do better. Yes. And even when the attention comes, you don't really want to accept it all. You would be like, well, thank you.
Wasn't that awesome? Relax, you guys. It's not that deep.
It wasn't that much, Within you understand that I would have done better. So that feeling of I would have done better is what a number of perfectionists struggle with. So yes, they would get their goal, but they still remain lingering, that lingering feeling of, I would have done better. And that's what perfectionists usually struggle with.
I hear you. Okay, so I'll take you back to the types. You've shared with us one really interesting one, the perfectionist. So I'll let you continue. Yeah.
Okay. So the second type is what we call the natural genius. The natural genius. Now, the natural genius is one who defines their competence based on their first time performance. They believe that they are capable of achieving or doing anything right at the first time. And so the natural genius is, this is where we have people that are talented. And so they get to do things naturally. They're just good at things naturally. And they feel as though they can have that feeling on almost everything. And so, yes, they are a genius, but then they also get to learn things quite easy. And so these are people that don't care that much. These are people that don't rehearse that much. They believe that I am born for this, I'm capable of doing this. But once they fail, they would then think, well, this is in my place. I think
maybe I made a mistake.
I made a mistake. These are people that usually change their careers just because of a particular setback. I didn't do well, so probably this is in my field. Let me try out something new. And the natural geniuses are also procrastinators because within the process, they get to realize that I'm not succeeding at the rate that I was supposed to succeed. Probably this is and a number of people that are actually talented in music and everything. I think I gave an example earlier. They would make quite a good first single hit, but then the second one, if it doesn't work out, if it doesn't get the attention that the first single got, they would believe that, well, probably this isn't my thing. So what the natural genius doesn't understand about competence is that just as people that are into sports, they are good at what they do because they practice.
They work at it.
They exercise. They invest in the hard work. This is what natural geniuses don't understand about competence. They think competence is a one-time thing. They forget that.
I was born for this.
I'm born for this. So they forget that you need to sharpen the skill. You need to sharpen the talent. You need to endure. You need to invest in time so that you're good at it. So because they lack that, they usually get to stop a number of things that they do. These are people that have done a lot of projects that are unfinished because they feel probably this isn't my thing. And some of them are quite spiritual. Not that I'm attacking anybody, but I'm saying some of them are quite spiritual. They usually abandon the work by saying, maybe I didn't hear God.
God's call.
Maybe I didn't hear God, or maybe this isn't for the right season. They usually spiritualize why they are stopping something.
Something and so, to escape that suffering,
To escape that suffering, and that is the natural genius.
Also, while you were talking, I was thinking, would you say that then a lot of cholerics, for personality types, a lot of cholerics and sanguines would fall prone to this type, to this type of.
You are right.
And then the perfectionists would be like phlegmatics, melancholies.
Exactly. You are right.
Interesting. I'm so glad we're having this conversation. Okay, so
you are right.
Yes, I'll leave you to another type. You have another type? I could do this
yes,
one.
I have about 3 more. Let me just quickly go through them.
Yes, no, take your time.
About 3 more types. So
I'm happy to listen.
Okay, the third type is called the expert.
The expert.
And so, the experts or the expert imposter. Now, when we talk about the experts, these are people that define competence based on credentials. Okay, so these are the people that are so much consumed about getting papers. And so you'd find some of the people that, have this type in, you'd find them with a lot of qualifications, but then they still feel they are incompetent. Okay? Because for them to be quite competent, according to that definition, they have to be certified under whatever that they have to have a particular degree. So these are people that go to school to further their education just so that they would do something. And so if they want to start up anything that is in line with any kind of industry, they would want to ensure that they have the papers for that,
to validate it.
So get into exactly, so that they are validated. And so if they don't have the credentials, they would feel like an imposter because they don't have the credentials. If, for example, if I was under this type for this talk, right after we were, or rather, right after we agreed on this session, I would have sent you my credentials so that you know that I'm the right person.
You're actually the doctor.
I'm actually the doctor. These are the people that these are the people that always want to, have the title and also to show you that I actually have the papers. I'm certified for this. I've been to this school, I've been to, they are the people that are so consumed with getting credentials and all these other papers. And to them, they think if you have the paper, or if I have the paper, then I'm competent in this area. But what these people also lack in understanding is that we are moving in a globalized, world where people are now being accepted based on the work and not the paper.
Your experience,
Yes, based on the work that they are capable of doing, based on the results that they are, capable of making, and not necessarily because of the paper. And I think it was recently, was it Elon Musk and also the CEO at Google, they were saying that they are accepting, employees that are able to come in as long as they are able to do the work. And so it's not about whether you went to Harvard, whether I went to Oxford anymore. It is you getting to do the work. That is what gets you into these companies. So for the expert, they always want to be the expert in the field before they call themselves competent. And we have quite a lot of people, even in Zambia, we see some people that are so consumed about papers. After this master's, want to do another master's, want to do all these other things just so that they feel competent. And so when they don't have that, to them, they're an imposter. So that's about that.
I do have a friend. Okay. Interesting. We do have a friend of ours who got a job exactly how you have explained. He's in a completely different career, but his passion is in a different sphere. He's been working towards building that, and he was called to get the job. And in the Western world, because they are a bit ahead of us. But yes, I will leave you to continue. I'll leave my questions for the end. Comments.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, no problem. So the fourth type is what we call the soloist or the individualist. The soloist is basically a person who believes he has to get something done on his own, or she has to get something done on her own. She would never ask for help. Asking for help is a sign of incompetence.
Yeah.
And so these are people that are not team players. These are people that want to do things on their own only. And so even at work, you would find that if you ask them, if you were to help them out, they would take it quite offensive because it would imply that you think
they're
they're
not
not the right
capable.
not capable. Why do you think you could help them? Don't you think that they are capable of doing it? And so these are people that just love to do things on their own, and they make bad leaders oftentimes because they would rather take up all the roles and not allow other people to work. So for the soloist, what they haven't understood is actually that you are capable of working as a team, and there are many things that you would actually achieve if you are able to allow other people to help you out. So the soloists don't love help. They never ask for help. They will never ask for help because it is a sign that they are, not, deserving of the job that they are doing. And so even after they get the job, they'll just want to work on their own. Especially after the orientation is done, they just want to work on their own. So that's about soloist. Then the last one, quite similar to the soloist, but I'm going to explain the difference. The last one is the superman, or the superhuman, or the super student, the super employee. These are people that believe they can do anything and everything. And when they fail to do anything and everything, imposter. So being at a new workplace and you just find this person that loves to help everybody, he is there for everyone, or she's there for everyone. And so the moment that they fail to help out, or they fail to do something that, others were expecting them to do, they would feel as though they are not deserving, they are not capable of doing the work. And these are people that are multitaskers, but it also has a particular root cause. To all these types, there are causes. Yes, if we have time to get into, to all these types.
I mean, you can jump right into it, into the causes. Yeah.
So before I get into the causes, with regards to the superman or the superhuman, what they have not understood about competence is that you don't have to do everything for you to be the right person for the job. You don't have to do everything. There is a limit to what you are capable of doing. You don't have to please everyone, because one thing about the superhumans is that they are people pleasers. They are doing it to please people. And so when they are no longer pleasing people and they are not getting that praise, they tend to feel, whoa, I should be an imposter. What's happening here? I'm not. And they'll not say it is just a feeling, remember? They'll not say it is just a feeling. And so you would find that they to be a bit moody, and that's because their attention is not getting to them as it was
before. Okay. Wow.
Yeah,
it's very interesting. Yes, so you can get into the causes. Like how did we find ourselves here?
Exactly.
Are we born? And you see, okay, before you get into the causes, I just want to know, do I get a diagnosis for imposter syndrome? Is it actually a mental health issue that, like depression, I can be clinically depressed? If I go to see a specialist, would they tell me I am diagnosing you or anxiety. Can we say like there's depression and anxiety? Then we also have the imposter phenomenon. Is it like that?
No, actually, it isn't that. No. It isn't that way.
Okay.
It is just a trait. Yeah, it is just a trait that we usually have. The same as, was that a sigh of relief?
Yes. Yes, it was.
I see.
Yeah.
I see.
Okay.
No,
Yeah.
it is not a mental illness. It is just a trait. It's
Not
just a
that there's
trait that
anything wrong with mental illness. It's just,
yeah.
it's just I was worried that I could have been suppressing something. It's because it's easy for someone to go away thinking there's something wrong with having mental illness. There's nothing wrong with having mental illness. It's like having malaria or any other illness. We need to get help. My worry was, answer of relief was, phew, okay, so I didn't leave something for too long. Brewing. So I just wanted to clear that.
I get you.
Yeah. Okay, so it's a trait.
It's a trait. I was about to say it's the same as being a narcissist. So we have people that are narcissists, and we also have the mental illness, narcissistic, personal disorder. But being a narcissist and having NPD is different. So there are people that
NPD being imposter syndrome?
No. Narcissistic personal disorder.
Right. Okay.
Yeah. So there is a disorder where you have narcissism, but there is also a trait of just being narcissistic.
Yeah. I know a few people. Yeah.
Yeah. So it's the same with imposter syndrome. It's just a trait. It is not a mental illness. So when we talk about the causes, we have to get back to our childhood. And it gets back to some of the things that we had to, undergo as we were children.
Yeah.
Now, the first thing that I would want to talk about is being raised by human beings.
Today I read a quote that said, heal before you have children so that your children don't have to heal from you.
It's very true.
So being raised,
yeah, being raised by human beings. Yeah. And that's because usually when we are growing up, for example, in an extended family, we get to have different people labeled differently. And so there's always the Tao one, the intelligent one, the athletic one, there's always these labels that we get to receive. And everyone, even ones that are the intelligent ones, get to suffer somehow. I'm going to explain. So if you were labeled as the Tao one, of course, not everybody that is Tao grows up to be, Tao. Most people that were Tao growing up had become geniuses by the time they were adults.
True.
Albert Einstein is an example, and a lot of people, our modern speed reader, Jim Quick, if you know him, he also had some issues growing up. I love him too. He's very good.
Yeah.
He was also considered as a Tao person, but then look at what he does now.
And Jim Graziosi as well, eh? He had dyslexia.
Yeah.
Is that what you call it? Dyslexia? Yeah.
Yes, dyslexia, yes. So a lot of people that were being considered Tao, when they get to grow up, now they are, in their elements, doing things that, are for high achievers, getting good results. They get to feel like an imposter because they were not oriented to feel or to receive praise and to receive attention. And so because they were not oriented that way, when they finally get to get this praise and attention, it's like, is this me? No, I don't deserve this. Because their childhood wiring was not one that made them feel they were even important, you know?
Yeah. Yeah.
So because we are not meant to feel important, they don't get to accept the public praise that they later on get to have. So that's how some people get to become imposters, or rather get to suffer imposter syndrome. So it is not that they have anything, you know, wrong going on, but it's just because they were not wired or oriented that way as they were growing up. Then we also have those that were labeled as, you know, the good boys, the good girls. You know. The problem is that they want to maintain that.
To maintain the standard.
Exactly. And
I think this is common in the church. Children like pastors' kids.
Exactly.
Yeah, the good one wants to stay good, but the rebel will rebel. Yeah.
The rebel, exactly.
Yeah.
So they want to maintain the standard, and because of that, they now get to set higher, you know, standards. They become perfectionists like me.
Yeah,
I think,
like you.
I think the reason why I actually turned out to be a perfectionist was because even growing up, I was considered a good child, a good child.
Yeah.
And so because I still wanted that to continue, that is why we had.
Did you want it to continue, or it was a fear to disappoint? Is that something you wanted?
Yeah, it was the fear to disappoint, you know. And so this is why we have a lot of people, even in the organizations and companies, who are inwardly trying to please their parents, but then they are pleasing their employers. You know? They are pleasing their CEOs. And so you find that they are quite competitive, but it's because inwardly they still want to say, Daddy, see.
Look at me, look at me.
I got straight A's.
Yeah, wow.
And you find that these people, even in the company, are very competitive, but it's because they are struggling from that side of needing attention and just maintaining the praise and not wanting to disappoint the people that are in their life now, the priority structures that are now in their life at that stage of their life. So at some point it was the parents. Now that they're adults, is the workplace. And so they want to ensure that the same recognition that they were receiving from their parents is what they still get to have even at their company, at the organization. And that is a struggle for a lot of people. So being raised by human beings is really...
It's just hard, yo. Yeah, it's just hard. It's hard to raise a human being. I'll tell you that. It's really hard to raise a human being.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's really a thing.
Yeah.
So
it is.
The other cause, the other cause is simply being in an environment of high achievers. And
pressure.
By being in an environment of high achievers, we could, you know, list different fields: medicine, law, the military, you know, all these sectors. A lot of people that have gone through medical training will tell you about the scolding that happens on the ward rounds. And you know, as a medical student, there is that scolding that we all had gone through on the wards. You'd be asked different questions that perhaps may even be above you, but then you'd be expected to respond. And so that pressure puts a lot of people in the place where they always feel as though they are not in the right environment.
Like maybe I made a mistake.
They always have to prove. And when they're incapable of proving, they are like, is this really the right place? And so a lot of people have get to experience that, especially in the very high achieving industries. Also, when it comes to the art industry, Much of, the art industry can be divided into the music industry and all these other industries that have to do with gallery, film making, and all these other things. And so even the people in these industries also gets to experience imposter syndrome. And so a lot of musicians go through that. A lot of directors, film producers all get to experience imposter syndrome. So in high achieving industries, it is very much predominant. And the other cause is on one gender, and that's the female. Now, the female gender,
what can we say?
Has its own
unique set of challenges. Yes, I agree.
Because of the unique set of challenges. How society, tradition, stereotypes around, and because of the unique set of challenges that you guys get to go through, it is so easy for the girl child, it's so easy for the woman to end up feeling as though this is not the right place whenever they get to achieve something because of the stereotype around some particular industries, because of the cultural context that is in some of the spaces. And so because of that, you are likely to have this feeling. And like I said in the beginning, the imposter phenomenon was first, something that was attributed to women before it was generalized.
When they found that now it's actually a human thing, not a woman thing.
So I can see a question there, but let me just share.
So I just didn't want to forget it because it's also a question I had. I was like, can I crisscross across some of these or so I left it there just so that we don't lose that one.
All right, no problem. Yes.
So we'll get back to you very soon, Lubal Salulu Mulenga.
All right. So the last cause, or rather the other thing really that makes us get to have this imposter syndrome is just being teachable or being students. The fact that we need to learn and understand different things, we find ourselves feeling as though we are not, learning quite enough and we're not understanding it. And so we get to label ourselves as people that are not doing the right things. So students get to suffer from imposter syndrome because oftentimes they feel as though, well, I haven't studied enough. Did I really, deserve, especially when results are out, did I really deserve this? Or even as they would go through, the assessments that they would have, they would question themselves. So the aspect of learning and also being a student could also be the reason why a number of people find themselves struggling from imposter syndrome. Yes. Okay. So the question, can one person...
Sorry, before you get to the question, Doc, from all the four causes you have given us, the one thing I observe that they have in common is the fact that it's environment oriented.
Exactly.
Can I say? Exactly. Can I? Yeah. Because if I'm in a home, if I'm in a home, it's the environment. If I'm in a workplace of high achievers or in a school of high achievers, it's an environment. Except the gender one. The gender one is a bit unique, but mostly it's the environment.
It's the environment as well, because of the society, the cultures as well. So it could also fall under the environment.
Culture, I hear you. Being a learner.
That is why really it is considered as a trait, because it is not really something that we are born with or something that we get to, acquire.
Sorry. Before we get to the question again,
yes.
IS, you don't have to explain, just a yes or no answer. You gave an example of how IS is a trait comparable to narcissistic traits, but narcissistic traits also can spill over to the one that is actually a mental health condition. We can address this in next week's episode of this series. But can IS also spill into something deeper?
No, not really. Yes.
Okay.
The only way is when we don't get to work on it quite well. We don't get to manage it. So that's where matters to depression actually would come in.
Yeah.
Matters to do with anxiety. That's when they will come in, because you are not managing it quite well. It's taken the better of you. And so when you find yourself not attaining those competence definitions that you have, you would feel as though, well, I am not the right person here. So that's likely to actually change your mood. That mood would get into you being depressed. You end up having major depression and those.
Okay, I'll hand over to you to answer the question while I check for the other ones as well.
All right. So can one person have more than one type of imposter syndrome? Yes. Actually, that is why we are even calling it a syndrome, because you are likely to have two or more. You're likely to have two or more. So for example, I said
You're a perfectionist.
I fall under the perfectionist. However, I have two others that I also suffer from. And one of them is that I often find myself being a superhuman. I often find myself doing a lot of things for a lot of people. And so when I don't attain that, thing of me being a superhuman in a lot of people's lives, I get to feel as though, am I really called for this? So you don't necessarily have one. I'm sure a lot of people that are listening at the moment were able to identify with more than one. And that's how it is. So you could either have two or you could have three.
So we have another one. Do you see it?
Oh, yes. We have one from Princess Barbie. Good to have you on the call. Okay.
Yeah.
So she says, do you think social media has an impact on imposter syndrome? Yes.
Environment.
I would definitely agree to that, because we are in an age where we tend to compare a lot of things that we do. And most people would actually think that their competence would be based on them being better than somebody, or them doing more than somebody. And so, really, social media has contributed. It has an impact on how some of the people get to feel undeserving at times. Remember, the thing about imposter syndrome is that it's a secret. And so how you feel will not necessarily, like, you will not say that I feel like I don't deserve this. We are going to see it by how you dismiss or water down particular things. And so you'd want to be quite humble in some areas, but then within you want it, or within you want the recognition, but then you just feel as though it's just something that is undeserving. Okay, we have another question there.
No, Princess is just following up to what you're saying. I think she closely relates with your journey through med school, and she says that you should share more. Maybe next week you could isolate some incidences of being in med school so that they can relate. Kampamba Tami Muowo. Hi, shout out. We're at school together, Kampamba and I. So she says she also a superhuman. And that's the one she identifies with. And as we wind down, just to give, instead of leaving the audience feeling like it's a dead end, how can they cope while we wait to get to next week? Like, how do they naturally cope with this imposter syndrome now that they know that it's not only for Michelle, but even students in that environment, even women who are trying to achieve will not push to do that because they feel like they're not deserving of higher positions, higher accolades. So what can they do while we wait to address what we will address next week?
All right. So remember, from the definition, it's all about your perception of competence, the perception of self-worth. And that is where we would love to begin from if we are going to manage this feeling or these thoughts that get to, get the best of us. So we would need to challenge what we think is competence in the areas that we struggle in. So as a perfectionist, what do I do for me to manage those imposter moments? Because what we actually experience are imposter moments. What we experience are imposter moments. So we're going to have these moments where we would feel as though, wow, I think I don't deserve this, or wow, I think I'm not competent enough, or I'm not the right person for this, or we're going to say, they are soon going to find out.
They will know.
They will know that I'm not the right person. So what do? Is actually you challenge yourself to think better about that very idea that you have, that core belief that you have around competence. And so, as I was saying, for a perfectionist like me, I have to ensure that I accept that it should not always be my way for it to be right. It should not always be my standard for it to be right. It should not always be, the way that I want it to be for it to be, or rather for it to work out. It can still be, whatever result I get, I can still work with it because progress is what matters. I think you're the one that usually says it's not about perfection, but progress.
So, Kaizen.
If I get, exactly. So if I get to know the type and I know what definition I have for competence, then I need to, reform my idea of competence and begin to work with accepting that it will not always be that I should get it right if I'm a natural genius at the beginning. I should be able to be flexible enough to put in the work, train, to rehearse. That way I'll get better. I should sharpen the skill. Simply because I'm a genius, I'm talented, I can sing, doesn't mean every time I get the mic, I will blow the world, so I need to rehearse. That voice needs to have the right pitches and all these other things. So me getting to understand that will help me manage the imposter syndrome. So you simply have to know what definition you have around, or rather, what type you are.
Your perceptions,
Yes, what definition you have around, and then try to reform your definition, accept your limitations, and work on the other probable ways that would help. So that's how I would answer that question now, since we're concluding. But next week I'll run.
Brilliant.
Into,
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm
All
excited for
right.
next week. Please tune in again next week because we will look at how imposter syndrome affects our relationships, how it affects our life achievements, how far we go. Well, we've learned tonight that it's not a mental health situation. It can't be undermined from what we have heard. Like you have said, doctor, that there's certain things you have to do to ensure that you move forward. So yeah, I'm really excited for next week. Next week we also learn how we overcome and heal. We distinguish imposter syndrome from low self-esteem and poor confidence. We just get into the nitty-gritties, and the most important thing is we learn how to heal and how to overcome. So just a big thank you to everyone who joined the live tonight. Shadrach, hi. Always so good to have you. He
Thank you
says,
very
I
much,
have
Patrick.
learned
Glad to
a
have.
lot. Thank you so much. After listening to you guys, I'm afraid I have more than one. I did not understand the meaning of imposter syndrome, but now I do. Thank you so much. And it is not a dead end. And because you are a high achiever, it comes with the territory. So do not despair. And we're
Exactly.
excited to
Exactly.
learn more.
Exactly.
To learn more next.
Thank you.
Do you have some last words, Doc, before we say goodnight?
Yes, I do.
Yeah.
As we conclude,
Yeah.
we are living in a world where we have different things changing, different
Yeah.
trends coming. And so most people that suffer from imposter syndrome would find themselves in that place where they don't get to appreciate themselves and they also don't know how to accept praise. Okay. That
Yeah.
is one thing
Yeah.
a lot of people suffer from. They don't know how to accept praise. If I was to say, well, congratulations, you've done a great job. Like,
Yeah.
no, like we don't know how to accept praise. We literally
Guilty.
don't know how to accept praise.
Yeah.
For us as
Yeah.
the Christians would be like, whoa, we thank God,
God, yeah. Like all glory to the Father.
all glory to God. We thank God.
Yes.
And
Yeah.
I would want us to understand this. We
Yeah.
need to learn how to accept praise. We need to
Yeah.
learn how to accept, the those remarks that we get, because that is what will also help us accept our success. That is what will help us accept our achievements. Because when we do
Yeah.
that, we'll then be more self-aware of our self-worth. And if we are
Yeah.
self-aware of our self-worth, then we are
Yeah.
going to, live lives that will not make us feel undeserving or compete unnecessarily. So that's
Yeah.
briefly what I would leave the audience with. Otherwise, I'm glad that we did this. Good
Me
to see a number
too.
there. I can see my programs coordinator, Aingwa
Lovely.
Messi, said something
Yeah.
there. She says perception of self-worth. Thank
Yeah.
you for, yeah.
Yeah. Doctor,
So
thank
I'm
you
glad
so much
that
again. Yeah.
you're
You
welcome.
have delivered. You have delivered. So I'm glad we've done this part. I'm still excited for next week. I have learned so much. I journal a lot, so I'll have to go back now and sit and just put my thoughts and then see how we can change some
Yeah.
perceptions. And I will be
Okay.
reading up on techniques on how to learn to accept praise. I have this habit. If you tell me
Mm.
something nice, like, thank you for doing this, my
Yeah.
natural disposition is to come back and
Yeah.
find something I can be grateful for to you as well. Like, thank you too for, for doing this. Because saying you're welcome is just like, it's cringe for me. But yeah, yeah, we'll
Yes.
be learning that.
It's
So thank you.
it's really
Yeah.
uncomfortable. It's really uncomfortable, but
Yes.
that's why we need to work through the uncomfortableness that
Yeah.
comes with the things that we do. And so
Yeah.
it's something that we should really challenge ourselves to work on because it will make us
Yeah.
better people, self-aware by the end of the day.
Absolutely. Do bring us those work techniques next week. We're very, very excited.
I will. I will. I definitely will.
Yeah. No, thank you so much once again. We will leave you to rest now. And you have a good night. Yeah.
Thank you very much. Do you have a good night too? And looking forward to the next session.
Next week. Me too.
Yeah.
Me too. And good night, everyone. And thank you for joining. Let's keep talking in the comments and leave any questions for Dr. Kadochi to address next week, or even in the comment section. He will be available when he's available to just respond and interact with all of us. I know I will be having lots of questions. Okay, then. Good night. I'll end the broadcast now.
All right. Thank you. Good night, everyone.